Maybe you woke up in the middle of the night and you wondered, what happens if your tenant dies in your residential property in Ontario? I'm gonna go through that in this video. First off, I want to say I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a little real estate broker, and I just so happen to be a property investor. And Google will tell you a lot of wonderful things, but please make sure you get the proper advice. Landlord and Tenant Board is the official source in Ontario. Don't rely on blogs or other locations because rules differ from province to province, from state to state, and country to country. The first thing you have to do is determine if the tenant is actually deceased, either through a coroner's report, police records, or heaven forbid, you actually see the body. Maybe a neighbor tips you off or friends and family member call you. That's another way to find out. If the person or the body is still there, then you should call the police because they're trained to deal with this kind of trauma and they know what to do. If a tenant dies and there's no other tenants in the apartment, the landlord can get rid of any unsafe items right away. So the landlord, if that's you, must keep other belongings safe for 30 days so that the tenant's relatives or legal representatives can arrange to deal with them. The legal representative is usually the person who's named in the will by the courts, or is somebody that's actually there to look after the property or the estate after the person dies. After 30 days, the landlord can do whatever they want with the person's belongings. If the landlord ends up selling the things, the landlords can keep the money from the sale to cover any expenses for unpaid rent. But if there's any money left over after that, then the family member of the legal representative can claim the money for the estate. They must make this claim within 6 months after the tenant's death. If the landlord keeps anything, a family member or the legal representative, if they show up within 6 months to claim it, then you as a landlord has to give it back to them. The landlord and the legal representative can agree to different terms about the property. This agreement should be in writing though, so if somebody else wants to take over the lease, then that's something else that you have to agree to in writing. So then you might be wondering, what happens if your landlord dies? Well, it doesn't mean that you're going to be evicted right away. It just means that the property now belongs to the estate of the deceased and the rent is payable to the estate. Someone's going to reach out to you and hopefully you can figure that out. If they don't reach out to you, that's a different situation, and it kind of goes without saying, but you're not going to inherit anything from the estate. The estate will retain you as a tenant and also any kind of expenses that may be incurred and also the income from the estate, from the property itself. So hopefully that answers your questions that you might have of what happens if your tenant or your landlord dies. If you like this video, if you learned something from it, subscribe for more, and you can always shoot me a DM if you have any other questions. Thanks for listening.
Add it up.